then you might have the backup of Joe or Lyndon if he's 50. So it's just a reminder, you don't have to be the expert, you have to be that person who can, mind shift throughout the conversation, get them on the call.
For sure. Yeah, it's a really good point, man. And I think if you try to be the expert, that's when credibility starts to drop, right? So there's that pivotal point in the call where you ask really good questions, you explore, you're building trust and credibility, and you've got to know when that point is where you politely step back to Chris's point and say, I've taken you as far along this journey as I can. Let me bring in the guy who wrote the book and go from there. Lyndon stuff, I think, is a little different. Like, we still want to sell the time as much as we can, but there's a whole bunch of people in this room who have sold Lyndon programs without getting Lyndon on a call, ever. I'm not suggesting to not get Lyndon on a call, but as he's getting busier and busier, it's harder to get him on the call. So sometimes we've done it ourselves and we've made some sales and we've had some success. Whereas with Joe's stuff, I don't think anybody has made a sale without getting Joe on the call, because it's because of the key words around here of like uniqueness, fresh lens, it changes every time. Whereas Lyndon stuff, like, we know what a 4-hour conflict resolution module is. We know what an emotional intelligence module is. Like, they're a little more cut and dry, not in a negative way, but just in terms of like you can hold on to them. They're a little more tangible. Whereas Joe's stuff is evolving and moving because it's consulting, right? So Chris's point, very, very strong. Know when your limit is and then sell the time. Don't try to go too far with it, because then you'll lose credibility and potentially lose an opportunity. So, all right, guys, well, let's stop there, and we're at 8:34. So,
sorry, can I just add so that everyone knows, I mentioned this last week, so Joe knows we've already gone through this process, or we're going through this process. I spoke to him about a week and a half ago. I spoke with Lyndon on Monday that we're going through this process. He's totally on board. So after this, what I'll do is I'll take this information, the video from today, the video from last Wednesday, combine them, share them with Joe and Lyndon, and then work with Joe and Lyndon simultaneously to come up with some re-education plans to help everybody together, so that there's no confusion, not one person's in the room and talking about the other. And I think they're very much on board. But from what I see and what I know about these two, I think we're actually we're doing pretty good. Like, we're, pretty darn close. So that's pretty awesome. So
yeah.
I just want to let you know. So it's I've got to coordinate obviously with those two, scheduling, all that stuff. But so maybe something will come to fruition in December or January, some education or training sessions. Yeah.
Awesome. No, I think that'll be good. And yeah, no, I'd echo that, Tiff. I think from what I've seen today, I'm really impressed. I think the room, obviously having Chris on the call here helped a lot with his expertise, but I'm really impressed. I think I learned a lot today, like a lot of this stuff I didn't know, and people in the room, I'm really impressed. I didn't think we had a handle on this as well as we did on Joe's stuff, and then last week with Lyndon stuff, really impressed too with like the pitch Steve did and some of the benefits there. So I think we're in a pretty healthy spot with this stuff, but there are still some gaps there, I think, in terms of the follow-up and what we're sending that'll really help us move the chains and then tee up more calls, more opportunities, and more sales. And the nice thing with all our stuff, right? With team building, we all get repeat business every year with the same conference that happens, or one department does it and they refer to the other. We really want to be in that mindset of referrals and future earning potential. And we've seen it with our L&D as well, right? Like, when you can get one of these gentlemen embedded in a company like Lockheed Martin or Greenfield Global, it does expand and it spider webs out. And those are nice emails or nice calls to get when either of these guys connect with you and they're like, hey, I've got another department or another opportunity that's interested, give them a call. And then you can learn from there and get referrals from there, because the L&D, there's a lot of future earning potential there. So let's wrap there. Any last questions or thoughts to build on this before we close it out?
If we have templated like L&D or coaching and consulting emails that we're sending to more top of the funnel people, do you want us to send that to you? And Kip and Chad as well, or how do we work about that?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so if in terms of an action item from this session, if anybody has any templated emails for either one, for Innate Leaders or Igniter, that you currently send in that sort of middle ground where they're not ready for a call, but there is some interest and you're trying to nurture them, yes, please send them to the three of us and we'll compile them, and maybe we'll do a future session together where we can pull the best of the best from everyone and come up with a standard template for each and go from there. I'd even be interested to see where, and I could be wrong with this, but I've heard in the room there's been scenarios, like Steve had one the other week, where the client wanted to see both. So I'm curious, does it make sense to maybe create a template that shows both? And I don't know, maybe Joe and Lyndon will hold off till they weigh in on this. Maybe not. Maybe that's a bad thing. Maybe we show one or the other. I don't know. Because I think Joe